So, but this is not your first time. Like it is, it's my first time, and there were some others here, but it's not your first time here, right?
It's my second time.
Second time.
Mm-hmm.
Was the first time here for business as well?
It was in 2019, back when Wizard Worlds existed.
Okay.
So I popped through in like a January in 2019. So it was very brief and very cold.
January, quite a bit different than what's going on where it's, by the way, the storms here have been
Now there are
crazy.
squalls, so I don't know if that's me, if I brought that in. I don't know what's happening, but anyway, it's been very exciting. Is it you're like every day, guys, like every day? Really? Like that? That lightning and thunder is cracking.
Right. Yeah. And the thunder, yes, like it would just go on and not stop.
Yeah.
So it was, where do you call home, by the way?
I live in a few different places, but my main residence, where I call myself local, is Montreal, Quebec at the moment. Yes. So, but I do spend a lot of time in LA, so I kind of find that both of those places are my local places.
Oh, you're local. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go home to Montreal, are you still working? Like, do you have like a home booth that you audition and record and things like that?
Yeah, in Canada right now and in Quebec, a lot of the stuff that I do is going to be in studio. So there are tons of studios and tons of game companies in Montreal at present. But I also have a home studio, which has become, industry standard.
Yeah, the norm.
Yeah.
Now, did you have a home studio prior to 2020? I think that's what
I did not.
Okay, so that's like
I was one of those people that got really lucky right before everything shut down. I got a tip that a Studio Bricks was a really great investment for a home studio. It's a studio that you build almost like Lincoln Logs. It's a Spanish brand, and it's like good quality material. So they were able to ship it in, and I got that thing built up, and then everything like shut down. I love how I just popped my own pee there. But yeah, it was very beneficial. I wouldn't have put a home studio in the place I was because I didn't feel like the noise quality was going to be well enough. It was not enough insulation in my place. And I just thought, like, there's just too much street sound. And anyway, it ended up being like the best thing ever. It still serves me very well. So those things are great. Expensive, but they are worth it for our career. Yeah.
Do you find that you are spending more time recording or auditioning on the road? Like when you're, because I've heard some people that are like, hey, so like I need to leave the convention floor at 6 because I got to go to my hotel room and record or audition. Do you find yourself having to do that as well?
Definitely doing more of that. But it's so interesting because even I think we had this big movement towards, a lot of remote recordings, and now it's become hybrid, but there are a lot of game studios that want you back in studio now. So that's starting to happen, interestingly enough. So you have both. I find on quick trips, it's easier to like get a bunch of stuff done before I leave and then get back and do it back in my home studio, because recording in a hotel while you're trying to work full days on the weekend it's just really hard to do, because it's such a big setup in a hotel to try and create that home studio recording sound.
That couple in the room next to you fighting and screaming.
Yeah, when you're like, I'm going to kill somebody, and you're like, help me, and you're like, you don't want to do that through the wall, and somebody will be listening and they're going to be like, you never know what it's going to be too. So I also still do TV film too. So you can sometimes have to do self-tapes that are, you have to find the lighting, you have to get a tripod, you need a reader, you need to memorize these lines. So it's easier when you can get help with that. And I try to avoid the weekends as much as possible, quite frankly.
Now, a lot of the characters that you have, very strong, powerful females. Obviously, that's quite the norm, way more than norm now than possibly when we were younger playing video games.
Totally.
So were you a gamer when you were younger? Like
I was, and it's so funny because I don't consider myself a huge gamer, and yet I gamed a lot when I was younger. I didn't even think about it. I just did it. It was really fun. My sister and I have 3 sisters. We would, but my older sister and I would play a lot of, we had the NES in our house, played tons of Mario. We also played Atari. And then we played a lot of Duck Hunt and Track and Field, and and I had the original Legend of Zelda playing around me. I was a little bit too young to be good at it,
right?
But
Same.
that kind of thing. So Ocarina of Time was the first one that was really like on my radar in high school. But yeah, I totally gamed all the time, and we just didn't. It was just one of the things that we were allowed to do, and it was super fun, and we didn't have a label for it really at that time.
It was just something you did. Friends would come over. It was just, but now obviously big big business.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
When did you realize that you could have a career at this? You know, like that. Hey, video games. Animation, anime.
Yeah. Voice work, like as a specific thing.
Yeah, voice work could be,
Like
a
lucrative
career.
thing. Back when I was training, it was a really new form. So video game voice acting was not known at all as a thing where I was. And I ended up going to theater school in Montreal, and then I did a master's in London. And by the time I had done both of those things, I had started to clue in through courses in university that you could do voice acting, because one of my teachers did voice acting for video games. And very few of my classmates were particularly interested in it. They were like, oh, that's cool, but we want to do acting, And I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like the thing that I have to focus on alongside everything else. Like, I clearly have an interest for really manipulating sound, basically. So made my first demos and just jumped right into that and was like, if I can make any kind of living like this can help me justify doing this as a career right away.
Right.
So I just went for it.
That's kind of nice.
Now
when
everybody knows.
else is going for something else. And you're like, oh, good, less competition.
Yeah, less competition. And also I was like, can't you see, this is going to be so cool. It's so fun. Like, it was like me and another classmate who were really into it, but yeah.
Now you mentioned going, obviously going to school for theater. How did your parents take that? Well, there's a lot of, it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go be a doctor, a lawyer. I'm going to go do this, that, oh, I'm going to go major in
it's
theater.
funny. Yeah, my dad's a dentist, but my mother is an artist, and she was never supported when she was younger to actually pursue the art. So she would have art shops, and she was a painter. And so she raised my three sisters and I to be very into being able to express ourselves however we could. So we grew up singing and dancing. We also grew up figure skating. So competitive figure skating was something I was doing before I got into theater. And that was very much, my mom pushing us and saying, these things are valid, you can do them. So I really owe it to her, honestly. It's probably her own closet dream that she was able to give to us.
So at what age did you start ice skating?
6. So we were in a very tiny town in rural Michigan. And there was hockey and there was basketball, both of which I did play. Okay. But my mom actually helped create figure skating companies or organization in town to give people like one more option of things to do, because there was just not a lot going on. So we were also in a place where that first kind of figure skating company opened up, and then we would travel 40 minutes away to train and do more with a little club. So, but it was really important, and it was actually really great community work that they were doing to make this figure skating an actual activity. Brought a lot of people together. It was really constructive.
When you're young and you're figure skating, when you're 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, does everybody who's there have like the Olympic aspirations, or is it just something? No, okay.
Not really. I did for a brief time, but by the time I was 12, I realized it probably wasn't in the cards for me. And then I quit at 14, and then I came back to it at like 17. So I took a really pivotal chunk of time out.
Right.
But you kind of got to go to a bigger center to train. You need the right coaches. You need the right situations. My sister did, actually. My younger sister, she was 6th in the U.S. actually for figure skating, for ice dancing. It's kind of a really random fact. A very artistic family, and she got really far with it. But she had to move to Boston and then Colorado and then Detroit. So it took up her younger life. She was really motivated to do that. And my parents were really supportive. So it was really good. But yeah, for the figure skating in a small area like that, it was enough to be doing shows and I guess like learning basic skills, getting those tests, and then being able to teach younger kids. It was, I don't know, it was more community oriented, like overall.
Did you keep up with you watch the Olympics though, and keep up with like the Christy Yamaguchis?
Oh, totally. They were all my I idolized all of them.
Gosh,
Nancy
I'm
Kerrigan,
blanking on the name right.
Tanya Harding, Brian
Scott,
Boitano,
Scott.
oh gosh,
the one who did the backflip.
Yeah, sorry.
And got booted from the Olympics for doing a backflip.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's not Scott. I was gonna say there's
anyway,
Hamilton and Scott.
Hamilton.
Scott Hamilton. Okay.
Yeah, look at that. Bringing that one out of the back.
Yeah.
So I was very big into watching, even though I have the skating ability of a slug. But I very. I did watch a lot of that growing up, so it's cool to like bring those memories back. And then then you started getting into, or I'm assuming around that same age that you stopped figure skating, getting into acting then.
I didn't. I had a kind of tumultuous high school thing where I got out of figure skating. Right. I did play a lot of basketball though, so I was really big into those sports, but I moved from one high school to a slightly larger one to just have more opportunity. It was like that sort of thing. So high school was a little weird, and then I kind of got back into the groove at 17, and I was like, these are the things I want to do. I was like more disciplined about it, but no, there was like a dead period where there wasn't a lot of creativity nor a lot of structure, and I'm glad that I was able to like get through that chunk and get to the next part. I've always found that being an artist has made me feel like I've had an outlet, and to just be like less cynical about the world. You can channel what you need to into creative endeavors, and the creation portion of being an artist is very important for me. It's not all other people's scripts or other people's stuff. I like to be doing all of it.
As we talk about theater work and the transition to either on camera, behind the camera, voice acting, and in theater you get that instant feedback, right? You're on a stage, you're in front of everybody, you get that instant feedback. Television, you're like, all right, you're rolling, and then you hear cut, and you're like, oh, I guess that's it. Same thing with, you have your mic there, and you're just talking to it, and then you're done, and you don't necessarily get that feedback.
Yeah.
How difficult is that for you to understand? Yeah, okay, what I did was good. When do you?
Well, sometimes you don't ever know. You just don't, and I feel like you don't on stage either. Too, you can be performing and have an audience that's very, very quiet, and they're just, depending on the type of play you're doing too, and you can be like in the void for like an hour and going, what's happening, so I guess you kind of get used to it over time. I worry about it less than I used to because I have more of an instinct from the practice, and then you just hope the director is going to give you the right feedback, and the team's going to ask for what they want, but your instinct does get better for it with the more experience that you have. Hi, thanks for joining us. Hi, guys.
And then the transitions to coming to conventions where you get to hear that feedback.
I mean, and also you come to conventions and the people that you get to meet are ones that want to meet you. So it's a good place to, commune with people. It's a lot of positivity.
A lot of, you get to, do you ever wonder like, I wonder if people are going to like that? And then you turn around and people like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, or they have a strong reaction to it, or it's meaningful in some way. Right. And you get to talk about why that might be, and hear other people's stories, because the way that they've interpreted something might be completely different than the way that you've even performed it or done it, or it was intended. And that's the beauty of it. It's just, yeah.
And it could be kind of scary because if a character like Zelda, who didn't have that presence, that speaking role, that before, now you're having to live up to their, like whether you want, it's on you or not, you're living up to their expectations. So that can be kind of scary as well.
It can, yeah. There was, when we first did this role in 2017, I got the role in 2016. I did feel the pressure that first year when we were recording it. First of all, I just didn't want to be replaced because I didn't know. You just don't know until a game comes out what is going to happen with it, what's going to be in it, and whether or not you're going to like make the final cut. You just don't know. Right. There are famous stories, I can't think of any at the moment, but plenty that I've heard over the years where people do get sort of cut on the final hour, or they've been working on something for like 2 or 3 years, and then the network looks at it and they go, nope, it's just not working. Let's bring in this person, and that person's work is scrapped. You never knew they existed in the game. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a big deal. I hope I don't lose it. I hope I can, do all right. You feel the pressure, and that's even internally before it hits the public. So.
Right, and you're creating a voice for a character who has been around since 1987.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right, since 1987, Legend of Zelda originally came out. So where did you find Zelda's voice? Where did you find that accent? Like, was it a directive towards you, or was it something that you were like, I'm going to try something?
I always go from the audition script, and I didn't know what it was when I was auditioning for it, because it was a secret game. So a lot of those auditions they're bleached scripts. So when I got the audition, I had just moved to LA. I'd been acting for 10 years. I'd submitted all my stuff. The casting director invited me in for an audition. And I looked at the specs and I was like, oh, princess, like 19, but wise beyond her years, has a lot of pressure on her, has maybe a contentious relationship with her father. And then it was like a couple of monologue-y things. And I was like, how would I do that? And I sort of just worked with my range and I was like, well, I sound way too old naturally. I have to like pitch it up, but not too far. So I played with it up here. And, I started to sort of find a place I could like sit comfortably enough.
Right, because you have to keep going.
Yeah. And then I'm like, and she's
years.
a prince. Exactly. You don't want to make a choice. If any of you are going to be voice actors, aspiring or practicing, I always think it's so important not to choose something that you can only do one of. You've got to be able to sustain that voice for hours in a session and potentially months or years. So that is something that and it's as much about the dramatic intention as it is about the vocal quality. So that helps when you're making decisions, but it is something that you really got to consider, like longer term. Can you do this consistently? That's always a tricky thing. And and the accent came from, which I consider it's sort of based on RP, but at this point it's really like a Hylian fantasy accent. It's not really British. It's not like there are words that are all over the place because they go with the game. They don't go with some particular location. It's fantasy location.
Right.
And actually Nintendo's been very specific about that too. Like we talk about it a lot, like when we've been recording in the past. It's just like, this is a fantasy.
Right, yeah, you don't want to base it. Oh, I didn't think about that, where you don't want to base it on a specific location.
No, you definitely don't want it to be like too regional or too from yeah. So you can allude to things and you can play with things, but it's got to live within the world of the game because it's made for that, and that's it.
So we kind of talked about it, but you've done television, you've done voice acting, video games. Do you have a preference for one over the other?
I really enjoy having gotten to do all kinds, but at this point it sort of depends on who I'm working with and how great the script is. Like if I get an opportunity for a new project and it's with a really cool group of people, I am like in heaven. I'm happy to be working whenever I am in any genre. But I do love voiceover because you can go in and it's usually like a really cushy, like you go into a studio, sometimes they feed you like a decadent lunch, like sometimes like that, you're like amazing. And you just like, you whip out something like a commercial radio spot or or fun characters and you're like, did your work and you get to go home. So that's nice. You don't have like 16-hour days on set.
Right, no makeup.
Not necessarily,
Right, yeah, just going. Speaking of makeup, recently, late last year, Star Trek.
Yes, that's true. I managed to get on the final episode of Star Trek Discovery.
That's insane.
As Primarch Tahal. Yeah. Yeah, but you can't tell it's me. I was on set. It looks like it's green screen. I'm like, no, man. I had got flown to Toronto 3 times for costume changes and all these. They built the costume up, and then you go and it was all done like live shot. And Doug Jones' character was elsewhere, but I was there with the director and the whole crew, and we did that thing. And it kind of looks green screen, and you can't tell it's me. And I'm like, but I got onto Star Trek, but. Got my brownie points,
that's
but
a bucket list item for so many actors.
It's really cool.
The Star Wars world, which you've been involved in, Squadrons and Outlaws.
Yeah. So speaking of fictitious languages, like the last Star Wars video game that I was a part of, I got to play multiple roles on Star Wars Outlaws. And also did some mocap for that too. So I play one of the sergeants on the ship. I'm trying to think which one it actually was. It all like drifts away because it was so long ago. So I didn't even pay attention. I won't even be credited for it because I did a bunch of different roles. But the ones I am credited for are Syndicate. And it may say, if you go into that game and you go on the ship and everybody's doing these hologram farthier races, there's an announcer and she's shouting in Huttese. That's me. So I got to learn some Huttese and did several sessions in Huttese, and I was like, I love this. So cool.
That is awesome.
It's so bucket. I was like, bucket list.
Bucket list here, bucket list there. Now you dove into both the Star Trek, Star Wars world. Is there another franchise? Is there, like the Marvel type?
I mean, I'd
world?
love a DC thing, of course, or Marvel. I mean, I would love anything. I'd love to. I mean, because my partner Roger, he's Batman and stuff. I would love to get on a game with. We've not actually worked together on.
That's what I was
any
going to
of.
ask. Like,
We've never. We've both been on. Oh gosh, what is that? Outer Worlds,
Right.
the original Outer Worlds game. We were both on that, but not together. We didn't. But yeah, we've never actually worked together.
That's crazy.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
But
Yes, it
so,
is.
but yeah, I would think obviously DC. So you mentioned DC before you mentioned Marvel. So you were more like that side.
I don't even know.
We're gonna start this internet war, like more DC.
Yeah, same.
Same.
Which game or sort of like franchise would you think is like the best DC comic or Watchmen?
Watchmen.
Ooh. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. I mean,
Like
I'd
obviously
be
you were in
happy.
action comics, sure. So what about you? What's your? Are you a big Superman?
Oh,
Superman.
nice.
Have you seen the new movie? You think good? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Now, do you get? I mean, with conventions and working, do you get a chance to ever go out and see new stuff in the theaters?
I mean, I still I have time. I watch more. I watch a lot of older stuff these days because I find it hard to wade through just the plethora of new material.
Right.
And I'm really picky.
Right. So that was going to be one of my questions. Is
Yeah.
What are you watching? Are you watching again mainly older?
I kind of watch less and less, and I try to pick up books and stay off screens a little bit more,
Okay, I was
just for
gonna
my
ask.
own like sanity.
But
Yeah.
when you watch, is it more like I watch the same stuff that I've been watching since like I watch
I
The
do that
Office,
too,
I
yeah.
watch Parks and Rec because it's comfort. I watch a lot of Golden Girls. Like but it's
Yeah.
and I know the shows, I know the punchlines that are coming up, and people will be like, "Oh, have you seen the new thing on Netflix?"
No, I don't. I absolutely don't do that because there's so much new material. If I'm gonna choose something new, or old that I haven't seen. I'm just trying to think. Like we were talking, Troy Baker and I were chatting about The Network, which is a movie from the '70s, and I'm like writing it on the list, putting it out on the list. That's gonna be one of those. There's some documentaries that I want to see. There are new indie Canadian films that some of my friends are in that look really fascinating that I put on my list, and maybe I'll see them in a tiny cinema.
Okay.
So I kind of like, it's very eclectic in that way. Yeah.
I like that. Getting recommendations from friends and seeing stuff that friends are in. I think that's kind of cool.
That is fun too. Yeah.
Right.
That's always fun.
Now you mentioned mocap.
Yeah.
What are days like for that? Is it
I love mocap so much. Mocap's so much fun. We call it performance capture. Do you guys know about mocap? Do you guys hear about mocap much? I'm sure you do if you come to conventions because we all sort of talk about it if you're in video games. But the quality of the technology changes year to year. So you've got, like right now, I'm working on a new IP in Montreal that has involved a lot of mocap. And they did a thing where we worked on it for a year, and then the whole thing pretty much got scrapped. And then we redid the characters changed, and we made the final cut, thankfully, but we're still working on that. So it's been a really nice mocap adventure with that stuff. But I love those days. They can be a little long in the suit,
Right.
but the suits are getting more and more comfortable, and the helmets, which capture your face, like your own little personal camera, those are getting more comfortable too. So as the technology gets better, the work environment, the occupational hazards decrease.
Right.
You don't come away with a massive headache all the time from those days. But I love that work. And you get to bounce off real actors as well in the room.
Right.
And it's physical like theater. So.
Right. I think that's most important because, there's a lot of people who do shows, do television, or, animation, video games. I met somebody for the first time that I worked on this project with and never met them in the studio, this, that, the other. I think, having that chemistry sometimes is very important to the success of a scene.
Yeah, totally. And I find it's interesting because there used to be more of a divide between mocap and VO, but now you're sort of getting this interesting trend in the industry where you're auditioning for video games in a film setting. So if you are a TV film actor, you're going to be, or a VO actor, they're going to ask for you to do self-tapes in the same way that you would audition for TV film. So there's a melding of those technologies and of the spaces. So you gotta be a jack of all trades, really, as it turns out. No, I mean, no shock there. It's always been that way. You're always like yes to everything to make a living from this. But I find that interesting because I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm going to like slide into VO and this part will go away. And now I'm like, oh, the more I can do in all of these realms, the better off it is for all the realms. And you never know when it's going to apply. So that's kind of interesting.
Have you, well, while doing this and seeing how things are made, have you thought about working on the other side of the camera, either directing, casting, producing?
I've considered it several times, and yet I still feel like it. So if I were to direct, it would take me out of the running for a lot of stuff for a long time.
Right. Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not there yet. At some point, I will have to make a transition, and it'll be nice when I do. But I'm like, I'm still teetering on the edge because I do love the acting side, and I want to be available for as much of it as possible because I do love it so much. So and writing as well. I've started to write, and I'm just starting to get back into. I'd written a screenplay. I'm just starting to get back into writing, daily writing and stuff like that. So in the next years, that will become a thing too. But yeah, not for video games.
Right.
Probably more for like theater.
For theater.
Yeah,
Oh,
or for theater.
So obviously, I've been asking a lot of questions. If you guys have questions,
Yeah, do you guys have any
feel free
questions?
Feel free to step up to the mic and ask your questions. Oh, hello. What's your name?
Hi. Oh, there might be a little switch to.
Oh, it is on?
Oh, there we
yeah,
are.
Perfect.
It's suddenly kicked on.
Hi, my name is John.
John.
I'm a big Zelda fan, so when I saw that the voice actor of Zelda was here, I was super excited. I don't know if you mentioned it already, but I was just curious, like, what's your favorite Zelda game?
Ooh, I haven't mentioned that. I mean, I'm partial to the ones that I have been part of the process of making because it's just to be able to see it behind the scenes is a whole nother experience. It's really fascinating. Other than that, though, I'd probably say Ocarina of Time is just like kind of just such a big winner.
Yes.
And I'm partial to the original because I grew up with that one, with those first images of the Zelda games and all the little hearts floating around and lots of death and lots of skeletons. Yeah, those are probably my big pick. But I do write in Twilight Princess Hylian, and I spent some time with that game kind of loving the aesthetic of that game. So I do like Twilight Princess as well. That's a nice one.
Yes.
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 Yes, John. Yes. You're like,
They're
she has
all good,
answered
but
my
that was
question
my
in the way that I wanted to answer. I'm good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
pleasure.
much. Thank you, John. Hi, what's your name?
I'm BT.
Hi.
BT,
And
hi.
I was wondering, how would you describe the Hylian accent you kind of made for Zelda?
Yeah.
How would you describe how that kind of accent works? Like, how did you come to it?
So that's a great question, and it's one I've gotten a lot over the years because people are like, "Why does it not match some of the other accents in the game?" And my answer to that is, it is a fantasy game first and foremost. This all fictitious stuff. I did my Masters of Classical Acting in London before moving back to Canada and eventually to LA, and so I was studying the English dialects a lot when I was there, and when I saw the specs for the video game. Again, didn't know what the role was like, because it was like, the description was like standard English, mid-Atlantic, UK fantasy base, like you can do any of these. And I was like, it kind of came out like a bit RP. I was like, that feels right. And then from there, after finding the game, I was like, oh my gosh, when I found out that I'd be doing that, I ordered my Hyrule Historia. I was like, I need to make sure I've got a lot of research down. And I was like, do you want me to learn like a version of Hylian or something for, like any verbalized version of this that I can add in? And they're like, no, just keep it where it's at. We've got what we like. So it started like that. And I think it's sort of over time kind of morphed into a place that's more, some elements of it are kind of RP, some of it's mid-Atlantic, some of the words are just sort of, they blend with what all the other characters are doing. It's fantasy. It's just pure kind of like a mosh-up of fantasy with a bit of a hint of RP. That's how I describe it. It's a bit of, it's a hybrid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hello, what's your name?
I'm William.
Hi, William. I knew that. I was like, oh, it's William.
So, how do you prepare to do Zelda's voice in the Zelda games?
That's a great question. Because it is above my range, I will I'll go over the sounds that I use for that, which they are more sort of Britishy sounds. So I'll sort of like recall those in my head. Every once in a while, I'll look back at sound files that exist. Like when I've done the games, I've looked at like the first game, and I've sort of kind of gone like, or previous sessions. So I'll do that, and then I'll do voice exercises where I'll do a lot of sirens. So for that accent, it's this interesting place where it's fragile right on my, kind of have a head voice and a chest voice. That's one way of looking at it. Like I'm speaking in my chest voice right now, and right now I'm speaking in a lighter voice, right? So I'm sort of up an octave, and then you can kind of bring it back down into that part. So she sits kind of right on the difference between the head and the chest. Sort of, it's kind of a fragile little place, and it jumps around depending on what she's saying. So I sort of train this place right here, and then I add a British accent on top of that, or something like that. And I also get into her psychology, which is she holds herself kind of up here because she's younger than me, and she's like the essence of hope and compassion. So I feel that a lot when I'm doing her voice. So it's not just a technical thing, it's also a psychology play, like an imagination thing that I put myself into. So it's a combination of all those things that I'll sort of hold myself, and I'm always standing when I record those jobs. Does that answer your question? So it's kind of like, it's all those things, and it sort of brings me right here, and I get really excited, and she puts it there, and is very inquisitive, that sort of thing. So I'll kind of lift it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Now, you mentioned voice exercises. Do you have routines that you do?
I do,
Okay.
and they change over time.
Okay.
So I'm doing a lot of Estel training right now to work on like vocal fatigue, and also learning all the different apparatuses of the voice, like just the anatomy, and what to be able to like manipulate them with more accuracy and release tension. Estel training is great for singers. It's also awesome for voice actors. It's one of the things that you can
I
do.
think Monica Real was telling me about it.
It makes so much sense.
Right.
Yeah. And I imagine people like Christina V probably does some version of those too. She's just an absolutely wonderful vocalist. Yeah.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Cam.
Hi.
So you mentioned reading more books recently. I was just, could we get some good book recommendations?
Oh, it's great. Oh, reading books. Okay. Well, right now I've been really interested in an author named Heather O'Neill, who's a Montreal local, but she's a fascinating author, and she's writing a lot of stuff that's kind of based on history, but it's historical fiction with these really just great characters. I'm trying to think of the book that I just picked it up. I haven't even opened it. Lullaby for Little Criminals is
Heather
this
O'Neill.
one. Heather O'Neill. Definitely look her up. Right now I'm reading a play that's called A Very, Very, Very Dark Matter. And it's based on it's controversial. Came out in 2018, and funny enough, it featured Tom Waits as the narrator.
Oh, wow.
And it went up in London, and it's because I just got back from Copenhagen, and I was staying with a friend who was actually in the house of Hans Christian Andersen's old place where he used to write. And this play is about Hans Christian Andersen, but a very crazy retelling, basically trying to sort of knock people off their pedestal and rewrite history in a way that's like very controversial. So this play is about that. So I brought that with me to New Orleans, and I can't remember the author's name now. I'm like, oh my gosh, he did Pillowman and what's his name? I'm not going to remember the name of the author, but if you look up A Very, Very, Very Dark Matter, not everybody needs to read that. I was just reading it because I was curious, but yeah.
Fair.
Those are two I can think of.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It seems like historical fiction is kind of like a theme there.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Which,
Were you able to, did you go see O'Mary while it was?
O'Mary?
Yes. O'Mary.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you haven't seen O'Mary on
No.
Broadway?
No,
Oh.
I've not seen. Last thing I saw was on the West End. What did I see? It was the Scottish play. It was Macbeth with David Tennant. That was my last play that I saw in London last fall. I guess it was, November. It was pretty good. It was pretty good, except that they were awesome, but they used earpieces, and they did part of it cinematically. And I was like, I just wanted to watch a black box show. I didn't want the extra tech, funny enough, for this particular thing. But
Are you more Are you more traditional theater play or musical?
Yeah, I'm actually more traditional theater play.
traditional?
Yeah, I mean, a good musical is amazing, but I tend to pursue kind of new works and occasionally I'll watch a good Shakespeare thing. But yeah, I like the drama plays.
Like the drama.
And if they've got good comedy in them, if they got amazing actors, yeah. What's his name? David Scott? No, what's the heck? He's in Fleabag. I'm trying to think. He just did a one-man Chekhov called, I want to say it's not even off. My brain's so fried right now. I'll think about it. Anyway, you can actually watch it on film, and it's like a one-man show thing, and you can watch it on TV. That's something worth pursuing. I'm just gonna put that back on my list. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
So before we go, I have one last question for you, and it's one of my favorite questions to ask, and that is, while you were here at a convention like GalaxyCon, has there been that moment where it was maybe somebody at a table next to you across the way you saw in the green room that you kind of fangirled out a little bit? Either maybe you froze up, you couldn't say anything, or maybe you spoke a little bit too much.
I had a moment with Elliot Page in Toronto where I went up and said hello, and I blanked so entirely. I stuttered and walked backwards and basically was like, I'm sorry. I walked away and I felt like such a butthead. But you know who I fan out for every time is Terry Farrell.
Yes.
And we have these great conversations. Her son Max is a Zelda fan, and he grew up. He's now like 24 and getting into the industry, which is so cool. But she is like, I'm like, oh. Every time I see her, I'm like, hi, Terry. And we have these lovely conversations. So I don't know if I say too much, but I get really excited when I see Terry anywhere, which is fairly rare these days. But it's happened here. So
Happened this
I've been
weekend,
so
yes.
filled, so excited. Yeah, she's so cool.
Any last words for our great fans here? Anything that you could talk? I mean, I know a lot of NDA stuff, but we can't talk.
I'm walking NDA. I don't
I know
know.
we can't. There's stuff that we can't talk about. Is there anything we can talk about? Age of imprisonment? Can you?
I can't
talk about that?
confirm nor deny that thing. I've seen the trailer. Looks great. Yeah, but I guess in terms of other video games, I've got something coming out in September. It's a bit of a darker game. It's an indie game. But I can't really sort of like speak at length about it. It might even be online somewhere, but I can't really say anything. But there's something come out in September that I'm super excited about, and a couple of other bigger franchises that will be coming out in the next while that I'm working on right now that I'm like,
So when we
Yes,
circle
fun.
this back, maybe next year, next 2 years,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
we'll be able to talk about
That's
that
exactly
stuff.
it. Yeah. That's pretty
All right,
much
so
it.
any last words for our fine folks here?
Thank you for coming out with all the other things that you could be doing today to make your way up here to join me in this lovely hero stage room. It's been lovely. Actually, does anybody else have any other quick questions or anything that you felt like you were dying to ask, or, you know? Yes. I mean, right. She's like a walking grace light. She just comes in, you're like, hello, Terry. Made my day. Thank you.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank
and
you,
thank you all for hanging out with us today.